The Alderney Land Use Plan 2017 claims to set out a vision for the future with guiding principles and defines the island's aims and goals through ongoing plan outputs. Alderney is fortunate to have such a wealth of heritage that is so well preserved. Dating from Roman times to the German occupation, it all makes an important contribution to tourism. Over 400 historic sites and buildings have all been documented in the plan and its appendices. These include the historic buildings in St Anne, the Napoleonic forts, the German fortifications, and archaeology dating from prehistory. Just over 100 sites are already registered as sites of historic importance and are protected from damage under the law. However, the remaining 300 sites are unrecognised and unprotected. The new land use plan proposes a new policy which extends a level of protection to these unregistered sites to help conserve and protect them. The new land use plan is also designed to protect the island's flora and fauna, another important asset which attracts an increasing number of visitors to the island. In this, the last of 3 informal interviews, the island's planning officer, John Young, discusses the ways in which the new land use plan will impact on environmental issues. What is the recommendation of the land use plan for environmental issues such as biodiversity?
Well, this is now introduced. We introduced it in the law last year, and now we set out policies. And what those policies say is that where land is developed, it should take into, or where proposed to be developed, it should take into account the habitats that are there, the biological habitats and the species which are known to be present, and to provide, sets out a level of protection so that those sites where they're known to be greater biological biodiversity importance are given greater protection. So there will be a presumption, for example, against development where there is species or habitats of international designation. And of course, Alderney is very rich, and so the Wildlife Trust have helped us, or they've given us the information to define those areas of land in Alderney between those of international importance, those of regional importance and those of local, with perhaps the lowest level of protection for where we've got species of local interest. But nonetheless, it kind of elevates that factor into planning decisions. And where there is a development, there would need to be shown to be mitigation of that effect. And of course that then leads to, for example, a proposal then for environmental impact assessments.
Environmental impact assessments have become very important. How will these be addressed in the future?
Well, I think the plan tries to bring us into line with practice in both, certainly Jersey, Guernsey and the UK and the EU, whereby there has developed over the years a kind of methodology where developers and others assess how you assess environmental impacts and how you mitigate them and so on. The plan develops both policies which help set out where, in which case, a very detailed, a full environmental impact assessment is required, and where it's not, and where there's a kind of a middle way. It's a bit more technical than that. We've published a supplementary document on that, explaining that. And the intention, of course, is to ensure that the full environmental impact assessment is required on the very best sites. And those areas are defined and mapped in the plan.
Bearing in mind the potential importance of tidal energy, does the BDCC have jurisdiction over the island's seabed?
No, it was a surprise to us, having spent quite a chunk of resource with Guernsey's help mapping the archaeological marine archaeology, which is a wealth around in Alderney's waters. It was established that the remit of the planning law in Alderney runs only effectively to the low tide mark, and indeed some what are called bay closing lines. It's a bit complicated. We had to agree with the UK.
The plan refers to regional tier designations and local tier policy. What do these mean?
Well, I think this was what I was meaning when I was talking about the international designation and regional. For example, I think the expert world of biologists have defined all the species and the habitats in very precise rules, and those classifications are put. And so in Alderney, for example, we have a number of international designations. We've got the Ramsar site in the intertidal area and right out to Brew and Broughon. And we've also got things like the dunes, with the dune systems and so on, where those are of international importance. And then there are regional ones, which is and there are things like bracken areas where you get different species profiles. That is all documented in the plan, and those areas have been mapped. Again, it's linked to the environmental protection.
In a similar vein, what are green infrastructure areas?
Wow, well, this is a new phrase which Arup came up with. Basically, I think most people refer to them as green lungs. They're spaces in the built area where those undeveloped areas, full of often with woodland and so on, they are really important reservoirs of wildlife and so on, which need to be recognised for their importance and retained. And so again, the plan sets out policies to ensure those are conserved, and those are identified in the plan. Ladysmith is one, and then there's La Vallée and where the allotments are and so on. And they're one up at the top of Allongey, so I don't think they'll become as a surprise to people.
Out of interest, what are your proposals for land currently used for agriculture?
Well, under previous plans, all land outside in the outside the building area was effectively agricultural. We've defined that more clearly now by identifying those areas that are currently used for agriculture, and those are mapped. But we also recognise that it's important for sustainability to encourage more agriculture and more sustainable agriculture. And so therefore, by doing that and mapping out the special areas where we've got special wildlife, what we can help identify is the areas where we want to see more agriculture, new opportunities, and I think this sets out some policies of how we might achieve that. So I think we've got that right. There's a right level of flexibility there, but there's no change. So what we've mapped as agriculture is those areas which are already used for agriculture.
That's all very fascinating. Finally, is there anything else in the land use plan that is worthy of mention?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. For example, there's policies about protection of landscape, where again there's further work that could be done. All of this is resource intensive, of course, but again, a policy where we need to look at where developments affect landscape adversely, then there would be a policy that needs to be reduced or mitigated. But there's also some really new policies that I'm very pleased to see, which is about protecting Alderney's special character. Having come from Jersey myself and been here 2 years, this is a special place, and these policies are designed to ensure not just the design of buildings is right, but they have a right sense of place, that they really fit and they look right, and they fit the look and feel of Alderney. It's called placemaking, and I have to tell you, it's certainly a policy I should be strongly advocating back in Jersey if Alderney is persuaded to adopt this policy. I think it's very important to ensure the sense of place is retained.
John Young, thank you very much. It's been most interesting.
Thank you for interviewing me. Thank you.
The land use plan is open for public consultation until the 14th of August 2017. Representations and objections to the plan, in writing or email, will be submitted to the planning inspector. Subsequently, a planning inquiry will be held here in Alderney from the 4th to the 20th of September, after which time Mr Michael Hurley, an independent planning inspector, will submit his report to the BDCC. Finally, the States will need to approve the Alderney Land Use Plan 2017 in its current or modified form.